Hey guys, and welcome to Doing Things Dan's Way. So I got my daughter's 2013 Kia Soul here, and it suddenly was running super rough. She got an engine light, and she stopped, had it towed here, and so I just used my little ODB reader. And if you don't have one of these, you got to get one. I'll put the description, a link down below for the one that I use. But pull that up, and it's giving us a code P02xx. And P02xx, when I looked that up, it talks about it is a cylinder number 4 contribution or balance fault. And what does that mean? Well, it's not producing as much power as the other, and ultimately the most likely suspect there is that the fuel injector is bad. So what I've done is I've looked up what it's going to take that apart, and there's a lot going on here. No one else seems to have a video on this on YouTube, so I'm like, okay, let's pull out the camera, let's do this. So what we're going to do today is we're going to dig in and pull off the intake manifold, because that's the first thing we got to do. To do that, we have to do air box, we have to do the throttle body. Once we have that out, we can actually get the fuel rail out. There's a lot of steps to this, so let's figure it out. Don't go away. This is Doing Things Dan's Way. Okay, quick timeout here. Before I get started on these kinds of projects, I really do my research. I don't just usually just dive into a car and start taking it apart. I actually want to dig in and figure things out. And on a car, grabbing the service manuals is really the way to go. So what I'll do is I'll go over to eManuals online, and from here you can actually purchase service manuals for cars and get all the details that the actual shop would have to work on, or the original service department. So I'll go to eManuals online. Here I'll type in, I've already done it, 2013 Kia Soul, and what you'll see is they'll have a whole list of available factory service repair manuals, other tech manuals, that sort of thing. And so we can just go in and say, okay, I want the service repair manual for it. Click on that. From there you can just add it to your cart. From there, what I have for you, if you click to proceed to checkout, what I have is I have a discount code you can use for 22% off across the entire site. So if you go into a discount code here and type in Dan's Way 22 and apply that discount, you will see in this case a $7.26 off coupon code. So hit that up. I'll put a link in the description down below showing you the Dan's Way and a link to eManuals from there. And so now that we have it, what I would do is I go through and I just kind of see, okay, what's it take to get into this part, what needs to be removed, what are the things to worry about. So let me go ahead and pull up the manual here. So as you can see, in this case, the download included the 1.6 and the 2.0 and the ETM versions of the engine. So this particular Kia Soul is the 1.6 liter direct injection, the GDI engine. So we'll click on the 1.6 liter here. So in here now we can go through and search for torque specs, we can search for gasket replacement, and obviously just find out the things that we need. So step one is to pull the fuse, which is this 15 amp right there, which is that guy right there. By pulling this, we will empty the fuel rail of fuel by letting the engine idle for 30 seconds to a minute, whatever it takes. Okay, finally, we're out of gas. That took at least 5 minutes. I didn't really want to warm the engine up, but that's where we're at. So I'm going to kill the car, put the fuse back in, and remove the negative battery terminal. Now for this job, you might as well go ahead and get out your 8, your 10, and your 12 millimeter, because you're going to be using these for most of the bolts or nuts on this car. So the battery is a 12. Put that 15 back in before I forget. So step one, let's get this air box out of the way. Now way down in there is an 8 on the end of the hose clamp for the air intake. This is where a really long extension comes in really handy. Got this hose probably best to take off. Okay. Now, what we want to do right away is to go ahead and put a rag in this air intake, because the last thing we want to do is have any kind of debris get inside there. Once we remove the throttle body here, we're going to want to stuff a rag in the air intake as well, even though we're taking the whole thing apart, just to keep any kind of debris from all this flying around. Now, it would be a good idea when you start this whole process to go ahead and use like an air nozzle and spray the engine off. That'll just kind of, you know, try and get all the debris away from all the nooks and crannies here as well. And of course, part of this will also be cleaning the throttle body, which is really, really dirty. This is a 10. My routine is to put screws back in where I pull them out. That way it's just that much more difficult to lose stuff. Radiator input has a bolt back here we'll take out. This is also a 10. Okay, that doesn't really go anywhere. It's really stiff. Let's go ahead and loosen up the throttle body. There's 4 bolts here. Pull bolts, always check to make sure that they're the same, so you don't have to put them back in any particular order if that's the case. So if you're not familiar with it, definitely check them as you pull them. Nothing worse than trying to put it back together and you realize that 2 are long and 2 are short and you have no idea what the order is. So those are all the same. Safe to say that is free of the intake now. Need to get to this connector right there. Okay, so I had to use a screwdriver to get the tab to actually pop up off the little tooth in there. There we go. So use that to just give it a little wiggle. Okay, I'm guessing this is all going to go with your air intake, so push on this button here, pull that off. This guy looks like he's just routing over the top of it, but we got to get him off. So, big button right there. And then pull that off. That's a 10. Okay, we're getting close here. We need to go down underneath and get rid of this connection right here. Okay, so this is the bolt we're going to get off to release the bracket that's holding a couple different wiring harnesses together to the bottom of the airbox there. One tick at a time. Okay, just let that sit right there. The bolt's stuck in it still. Okay, to get this intake off, there are 2 nuts on top here, and there are 3 bolts, 1, 2, 3 across the middle. So just use a 12 and break this free. Now, speed removal up, one thing I like is this little guy. This lets me, you have this basically this nice little package where you can get in here and you got a bigger handle to spin on. So when your hands are greasy, you can ratchet it, you can just spin it, you can spin the whole thing, whatever. It's just a really nice little accessory. Like I say, I'll put links in the description down below for all these little fun tools that I like to do. The other one I use is just a bit like this on even just a wimpy drill. This is like a little teeny Ryobi mini guy, but he doesn't have the torque to damage anything. So he'll stall out before he breaks anything. These bolts are still hot too from the running the fuel out, so that's annoying. Okay, we've got to remove this guy. Go ahead and pull on it and see if it breaks free. Okay, we're moving. This is a process where you kind of wiggle and pull, see what's stuck, wiggle, pull, see what's stuck. So this line here is actually attached to the back side of this on a little clip like this one here. I'm seeing that around the corner. Push that off. So there's a hose right here. This guy. This has to be removed. He's going into the bottom of the airbox. You can see that technique there. I like to grab the hose a couple of times, get a little squeeze, twist it back and forth just to break the seal between the rubber, and in this case this is a plastic inside, so you gotta be careful with it. Get it? Get it. You see how this hose was tucked down in behind, just above the fuel rail. And there is our air intake. The seal looks like it's in a great condition though. So I'll have to clean that up. So this is a great reason to have the battery disconnected, because here is the plus 12 lead straight off the battery for the starter. So that would not be good to be in place if you were to drop a tool down across here to anything else metal. So this is the fuel rail here, and there are 4 injectors behind here. The intake is on this right side. It's probably in the way. There's a bolt right here we can loosen up. So this is a high pressure input coming from the high pressure pump here. So what we're going to do is release the 4 injector electrical connections first, and then we'll go ahead and release this high side. I'm going to put a rag down here because we'll expect a little bit of fuel to drip out, and then we can go ahead and break these 4 bolts and then pry on this to get the fuel rail out. Hopefully it comes out cleanly. So the injectors have a button on them. Okay, that worked. So I just use a needle nose plier to squeeze hard enough to get it to pop off the nib. You hear a little pop. Two, 3. 4. Okay. So I heard a little pop with each one of those. Now is it 3? Yeah, okay. So I was just grabbing this strong enough to let the plastic bend and break. I couldn't squeeze it tight enough with just my fingers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so next step is we're going to go ahead and crack this bolt here. It's roughly a 3/4, probably a 14mm, which I don't seem to have in my possession, so this is a 3/4. This seems to work, but I'm going to put a rag under here because I expect some fuel to drip out underneath this. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and crack this open. There's a little bit of fuel coming out there. Now we can just crack these with a 12. Find delicate ways to pry. Okay, oh, left side's free. Hey! Well, let's see. What did I get? A lot of fuel spilling. Wow. Well, I got a mix. Let's dump the fuel out in this rag. Ugh, those look horrible. They're completely caked. Wow. Oh, that's what it was. There was this fuel harness attached to it. These ones don't have all the little teeny holes in them, like a normal inline style one that shoots into the airstream will have like a bunch of little pinholes, just like a carburetor.
It atomizes it?
Yeah. Blech. Smaller. At least it's wiggling. Got some wiggle. You're halfway there.
Well, you either it's almost coming out, or it could be broken.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that suck.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Ooh, that one's even worse. Okay, so this kit here, and I'll put a link in the description below for this as well. This gives you a couple of nozzles, which I'll show you in a minute, and it gives you this controller, which plugs onto a battery and then connects to the terminals like so. The goal of this is to only deliver bursts of fuel instead of just being like on or off if you just manually did it. So you could set it to a mode where it'll just send a short or medium or long burst. What we don't want to do is run 12 volts in this continuously because the coil will burn up. So this is the right tool for the job basically, and this kit was less than $30. Looks like it comes with two sizes. This one's too big and this one looks about right. Okay, that's on there tight. And what this does, you take your carb cleaner, take off the tip, and this goes on like so. So you push down on it to pressurize it, and then press the button to actuate the nozzle. So let's get some power and get this connected. You definitely want to wear safety glasses for this because carb cleaner spraying out is bad news for eyes. So what I've done here is I just have a little 12 volt gel cell battery running power to this guy, and we've got the injector on the holder. I'm going to stick it on here, and this is going to spray everywhere, so I should probably cover this. So it's going to push down and then push the pulse button here. I'm sure you can see that well. So we're going to look at it as the pattern that comes out of here. Okay, that kind of sprays all over. So that first pattern, hopefully you can see it, It was lots of individual little jets. It wasn't a fog. This definitely makes a mess. When you let off, it sprays. It's spraying my belly, it's spraying all over the place. And that's why we wear safety glasses. Ooh, that's cold now. Okay, so my thoughts on this. This thing is great. If I had to sit here and like just touch these leads to a battery, tick, 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 I would not be able to produce the kinds of bursts that this thing is producing to really actuate it quickly like it is in the real world. This to me was a must. Like this really, really worked well. But in the end, that wasn't a big deal. Using this guy, I did have to drill this out just ever so slightly bigger to make it not chew up the O-rings, although I'll probably have to replace O-rings anyway. Okay, so now that I got the fuel rail cleaned up, all the injectors are basically clean, or as clean as they're gonna get, I can go ahead and reassemble this and start putting it all back together again. I really feel like all the stuff that was on top of at least one of the injectors when I first pulled it out and scratched a big old huge chunk off the top, that was probably the reason why that cylinder wasn't firing well. So I'm gonna put it back together, cross my fingers that it really is the answer. So we'll see. I'm not sure I can put this on with this injector in place without removing the alternator, which I really don't want to have to do. Can't believe I actually got it out of there. Okay, there we go. So the only thing we're having to do now is get it on the O-ring of that leftmost cylinder. Oh, okay, that actually somehow just slipped right on pretty easily. And when this is all the way on, it should be basically flush right here. Click, 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 click. Okay, yes, it's fun to go click, 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 click. The reality is when I'm gonna dig this deep into an engine, I don't wanna mess it up. I don't wanna break a plastic intake manifold. I don't wanna under tighten it and have that bolt back out or have an air leak, that sort of thing. So again, I'm gonna go back to the service manual here and scroll down looking through all the specs and find the intake manifold bolts or nuts, the torque specs on those. Okay, so here we have the intake and exhaust system specs, all the torques that we need. So I'm showing here electronic throttle control module, 7 to 8 basically, and the intake manifold nut and the intake manifold bolt is between 13.7 and 17.4 foot-pounds. So knowing that, we can go back out to the car and use those torque specs. Okay, the manual says 14 to 17 foot-pounds. Okay. Okay, before I put this in, I'm going to work on the throttle body, put a little carb cleaner in that. Okay, let's get this injector harness connected up. You definitely want to hear that click when you push it in. Now this one's going to be the pain. There. And this guy ends up here. I won't connect that for the moment. And this needs to clip into the intake here. When it goes in there like that, it's supposed to click in there and there. So that's something to keep in mind. Once we get this in place, we have to be able to push this piece sideways into there. Oh, and I should re-zip tie this so it stays off the alternator. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and put the fuel rail on over here. Oh man, it's already in the hole. Awesome. Get this out of here was no fun. Get it in here. That'd be interesting. Yeah, there it goes. Kind of. Hey, that wasn't ridiculous. Okay, so the 2 nuts and the 3 bolts are all 15 foot-pounds as well. So we'll use the same settings as the last time. Okay, let's get this throttle body reattached here. Get some other things out of the way. These only torque to 8 foot-pounds. They're pretty small. Now this guy only needs 8 foot-pounds. So that last 8 foot-pounds is less than the lowest on the scale of my other one. So I was put it into inch-pounds. So you multiply by 12. So we go to 96. Okay, that's 90, so we're going to go up to 96 inch-pounds. Oh, it was right there. Okay. Okay, throttle body's on. Let's get all the hoses and stuff in here. So there's this one. Let's stick it right here. This guy goes back on here. Okay. That's good. Now I've got some hoses to reconnect here. Down under here, there's this guy. This light's maybe in the way here. There's this hose, and then there's this hose. This hose has to come way up here to there. Okay. And then this hose down here. There we go. Nice satisfying little pop there. Okay, let's see, let's get the bolts on here. Here the trick is just getting the hose over the throttle body. I was basically just doing this. Same idea. Let me get that bolt on the bottom. Get that installed. Let me show you that. Okay, I'm trying to get this back on that hole right there. Use my little toy here. Oh, it's turning. Yep. Okay, this is the hose off of that air box. It needs to go right here. I find having a second source of light like this really helps to get a different angle. I mean, I've got a whole LED strip across the top here, but it's nice to fill in the shadows and see things from a different angle with, you know, a second light. Oh yeah, I gotta get this pressed up in there too. Okay. Okay, good thing is that's really obvious where that was supposed to be right there. And then up inside here, I can get to it. Push it in back in that little gap that it's supposed to be. Okay, let's hook up the ground. That's a 12. Okay, I turned the key on. What I'm looking for now is any fuel leak down on the rail. Don't really expect it to start right away because of all the air that would be in the system. That high-pitched sound is I think that's the fuel pump. This thing is up and running. I didn't want to post this right away because I want to make sure what I did actually fixed the problem. And the truth is it really did. There was no more engine light on. I did clear it with the ODB's scanner tool, which I'll put a link to down below as well as the other tools that I suggested in the video. But yes, it is running fine. There's been no issues ongoing with this whatsoever after 3 or maybe 4 months or so. Thank you for watching. I got some other videos on this car and others you can hit up here. You can smash on my face to subscribe. And until next time, guys, be blessed.